Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. We have a very special event in store today. As you see, our event is titled Automation in the Age of AI, Agentic Solutions, the Future of Work and Business. AI is a hot topic, as we've seen across all of the world, especially in the Business Council today. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of introductions. Here we go. You have your member host here. We have Ashar Samdani. He is the CEO of Code District, and he is actually going to be joined today by Charles, our guest speaker, and who will be joining us in just a moment. I see he just signed on here. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Angela, how you guys doing? Morning.
Cool. And just a couple of housekeeping announcements. As you know, there's many ways to engage with your community. You can answer an expert panel, join a new group. You can apply to host a new group if you wish. And of course, apply to host an event much like this one today. And of course, if you have any questions at all about your membership, you can always reach out to Concierge. I will plug this email into the chat shortly so you have access to it. Or you can, directly reach out to me if you wish, which I failed to introduce myself. I am Angela Finicchiaro. I work for Forbes Councils. I am the Groups and Events Promotions Coordinator. So if you have any questions about events, feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to answer any questions or lead you in the right direction if I do not have the appropriate answer. And as a reminder, you can always register for any upcoming events in the member platform. You can also view any recordings of the events by just navigating to the past events tab. Today's event is recorded. If at any time you need to sign off, you can always view that recording there at your convenience. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Ashar. But before we do so, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll to kind of kick us off and start off the conversation. And there we go. You should be able to see that now.
All right, so let's kick this off. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining in. And thank you, Charles, coming over as well. So the webinar today is regarding automation to autonomy, how AI is transforming business automation. All right, so we're going to be discussing the following topics today. So we're kind of starting off at, how we all know what business process automation it really is, but how does it look like in this current age of AI? How did it start? Where we are right now? What's traditional automation versus AI workflow automation? And then an introduction to autonomous systems or AI agents, as everybody kind of knows them. And then finally, we'll kind of end it, when to use what, where we identify the right use cases or help you understand how you can identify the right use cases to apply what kind of automation can be applied over in what scenario, because not everything is meant, not you don't need AI agents everywhere, but that's the kind of the gist that we want to build and put it together that, where what is required and where it can be put in. Next slide. All right, so just a quick word about us. We are Core District. We are a custom software development company, an AI-first digital transformation consultancy and software company. Our experience has been working with a lot of organizations in the past, building them, portals and systems and automating their processes. Now, in the last year or so, we have actively been working and involved in developing AI agents and agentic workflows for the same organizations where, picking up their use cases and workflows and translating them or figuring out how AI can be integrated within those workflows as well. I am also joined by Charles, who is a senior consultant at Microsoft and is also part of the senior core member team of their Copilot team as well. Charles, thank you for joining in.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. So moving on. Okay, so the first slide, understanding what is automation in the age of AI. So work automation has seen three kind of stages over the past. It's easy to, it's just kind of, automation has come really far and easy to forget, but this whole journey has kind of happened in waves and not all at once. There have been three big areas if we kind of zoom out and look at it a bigger picture. The first was pretty straightforward. We used tech to automate manual work, repetitive stuff, click here, copy there, run this. It was all about saving time and cutting down on busy work. Then we hit the next stage where automation started giving us something back, which was data. So we weren't just doing things faster, we were also learning from them. And that insight let us make, smarter decisions, fix up bottlenecks and improve kind of things around. And now we are stepping into something way bigger, this transformational stage where AI just doesn't follow instructions. It adopts, it plans, and even makes decisions. And which is, we're not just automating tasks anymore. We've actually started to rethink how the work actually happens. And that's where we are at this stage. All right, the three stages of this evolution has, the way we see it is has been legacy bought. So you have these pre-written scripts, rules where you can, kind of scenarios where you can say press one for billing, press two for support, limited rigid responses. This kind of evolved into the regular AI integration. RPA was also kind of part of this entire era. It's still being used, and then it evolved into this regular AI where you can understand context, you can have conversations. So basically, something like that. Hey, if I'm looking to schedule a meeting, how do I do it? And it gives you a path where it says that here's how to schedule a meeting, and then it provides information, but it doesn't really take a lot of action. AI agents next is where it takes actions and it completes tasks. So let's say if I'm looking to say that, hey, can you please schedule a meeting at 2 p.m., it will get that thing done. So it will just come back and say that, hey, either the meeting was not, you were not available on Tuesday at 2 p.m., the other person was available at this time, you were also available at this time, so we kind of put it at that time. Otherwise, it can just say the meeting got scheduled. So it kind of get things done. The key evolution to understand over here is that that we went from scripts to answers to actions. And that's exactly what those actions is what makes the AI agent different. So they are goal oriented. You give them objectives, not just questions. They are action taking, so they can interact with different systems, different tools, different databases. They are able to complete their tasks, they finish their jobs, not just provide information, and they're autonomous. So they work independently until the task is done or finished. Or if there's a human in the loop involved, it can come back to you and ask you that, hey, this is what I'm getting. Is this, how do I work around with this if need be? So imagine a Siri that just doesn't listen. I mean, most of us have used Siri, Alexa, or even Google Assistant, right? So imagine saying, I need to schedule a meeting for Thursday at 2 p.m. and you just say, schedule it, and it just does it. It checks the availability, it books the time, it sends the invite. We're building on kind of on that, same previous example, follow-ups if someone doesn't respond, the entire workflow kind of gets handled uh, automatically, right? So this isn't just assistance, this is decision ready intelligence that kind of anticipates your needs and executes on them based on that. So there's a small clip that we like to play at this stage, which will kind of, show you the intensity.
Still no
I can't
Yeah,
hear it.
I can hear it as well. So I'll just explain the ideas. This is from the movie Her. I'm not sure how many of you have seen it, but this was where I don't know the actor's name, but the guy is actually, talking to an AI assistant and kind of saying that, hey, and she tells them that you have, I don't know, 3,000 emails from a previous job that you worked at. And he goes, yeah, I kind of saved them because I thought there were some funny stories in there. So and she kind of laughs and then says, yes, there are about 86 emails which have stories. So I'll just save those. Uh, and he goes, okay. And yes, so that kind of autonomous is I think this was back in 2016. But this is the kind of, agents, the way they can work and they can function. So it kind of shows that extreme side with how involved and how intelligently they can pick up things. All right. So these are the three musketeers of automation, and then the way we call them the three musketeers is because they each of them play a role and they work best at times when they work together as well. So kind of breaking this down, depending upon what your process is, what your workflow is, you might need something simple or you might need something seriously intelligent. So the first one is your typical standard workflow automation, which is a rule-based system. So think RPAs, think Selenium scripts, think very scripted work, do this, then that, and so on and so forth. The second is AI embedded workflow automation. So we kind of broke this down into three because what we seriously think is a lot of times your existing workflows, your scripted workflows, static just might need some sort of AI integration with them to improve them. You don't necessarily need the entire autonomous systems or the AI agents part, right? So, for example, a case could be that they're health practitioners, they're doctors, they take diagnostic notes. And based on those notes, insurance companies or billers kind of figure out what CPT code to apply. So previously, a biller would either do that from memory because they've been doing it for so long, or a new guy would be training. So he would look up that diagnostic, figure out, looking up some manuals that, hey, this is the codes that could potentially be, and then apply it. Versus with an AI embedded workflow, you still have the same workflow where you have your doctor diagnostic notes coming in, but there's an AI integration that kind of automatically using Gen AI figures out that, hey, based on these diagnoses that the doctor put in, this is a CPT code that we need to, apply. So that part automatically becomes, saves a lot of time, becomes more accurate. The AI learns over time, and you can go with handwritten doctor notes to voice notes to, inputted text-based notes, everything. AI agents and autonomous system is goal-driven. They are much more advanced. So hence the three musketeers, where each of them can be used individually or applied individually, or they can be applied as together and work together. All right. So so autonomous system, this is where Charles will pick up and would talk about it in much more detail.
Thank you, Ashar.
Charles, over to you, buddy.
Thank you. Is it clear? Is the audio clear?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I hope everybody else can as well.
Yep, all good.
So agentic AI and AI agents, this is not just the future of work and business. I like to see it as it is the current reality of work and business, and it's growing really, really fast. So what are AI agents? How do they differentiate from agentic AI systems? And there's so much noise in the industry right now, right? And agent has become this buzzword. Everyone is agenticizing everything. But I like to slice through the noise and say, first of all, AI agents will not solve every problem. That is for sure. AI agents will not replace every job. It's not happening. That's what we're beginning to find out in the industry. But simply put, what are AI agents? The definition here, I like to keep it simple. Semi-autonomous software systems that use external tools to accomplish a goal, just like Asha just said. They take action for us or on behalf of us. They require some input from the user, input being in the form of a conversation or query or prompt from you, the user, or maybe even from an external system. They process that information, understand what it is, breaks down what is required to be done into specific tasks, and then complete the tasks. And they do this process iteratively. Right now, the word autonomous is another hugely thrown out word out there, and I like to also use it sparingly. That when we use the word autonomous for AI agent systems, the question is to what degree, right? How agentic are these systems? So I prefer to use the word semi-autonomous because there's a concept called human in the loop, where the user or the employee or the individual has to interact with the agent, give approval, or review the agent's output, or tell the agent, hey, I like this, but I don't like this. Can you tweak this? And go from there. So they are semi-autonomous, require human collaboration. They take input from a user. They use external tools to be able to relate with the environment, and they solve the problem. What is the key difference between regular AI and an AI agent? And I think Asha also alluded to some of this. Regular AI is like logging into ChatGPT browser or logging into Claude browser. What that is, it tells you how to do a task or how to do a thing. In this example here, how to schedule a meeting. But the AI agent, again, like Asha said, simply does the action for you. It doesn't only tell you how it's done. It could tell you, it could actually do the task for you. Think of it as a digital assistant or an employee. Which is why a lot of companies are excited about it. There's a lot of cost savings involved here. So it's a digital assistant. It's software that can use tools to interact with its environment, get the job done for you, or solve a problem for you. Next slide. I like this slide because this might seem like a lot of talk, or sometimes it might seem to be a little technical. I should try to not be as technical as possible. But the fact is, the numbers don't lie. And it's the numbers that give us an idea where things are going in the industry, whether we're a small business or medium-sized or an enterprise, right? I'll look at the first box, $52.6 billion, right? That is the expected global market size for AI agents in the industry, in the entire market, across every field by 2030 at the end of the decade, which is about 5 years from now, right? The next box is the transformation that is going to be seen by 2028 that is anticipated, 33%. Enterprise software will be agentic AI by 33%. You know, like Ashar said, the older you're building workflows or doing automation, it's not just changing or going to change, it's changing as we speak. 96%. This is the adoption, anticipated adoption for enterprises in the next 12 months. IT leaders plan to expand their investment and their usage of agents by 96% in the next 1 year. Measurable productivity and improvements, 66%. Adopters are reporting measurable productivity improvements. There's another slide, actually, I think that we missed that has a number of $2.6 trillion. That is the expected investment across the board and revenue by the end of the decade regarding just AI. So the idea here is to give us an idea of where things are going so that we all start level setting or at least grounding our thought processes in that direction. AI agents versus agentic AI. AI agents are the individual entities or the individual workers that carry out specific tasks for us. But agentic AI is more like the framework or the orchestration or the coordinator framework, pretty much. If I had to use a sports analogy, you would say it's like the coach that coordinates the activities or the functions of sub-agents or AI agents that do specific individual tasks. So the AI agents are the building blocks, the individual football players or soccer players, depending on which one works for you. And the agentic AI framework is what coordinates the interaction between the agents, making sure that, however they perform their tasks, they perform it iteratively while coordinating with each other and grabbing all the metadata required to keep the entire state in progress. Next slide, please. So this slide here, what we attempted to do was just to show a basic example of what an AI agent could do, stock market analysis. You could very easily build an AI agent that will do stock market analysis, something that will require you to maybe go to Yahoo Finance, read about the fundamentals of a company, read about how well that company is currently doing, find out its current stock market price, and then summarize all that by yourself and determine forecasts for this stock in the next couple months. That process alone could take a stockbroker anywhere from a day to a week. Now, fast forward to AI agents. All you got to do is give an AI agent an API endpoint. And an API endpoint is just a fancy word for saying, give it a website. That Yahoo Finance website that has all the data that you need, feed it to an AI agent. It will take that Yahoo Finance website, grab all the data, synthesize it, extract it, process it, understand every aspect of that data faster than you can in 5 minutes or less, and churn out an output in whatever format works for you. In this case, I passed it a Lumen. Lumen is a telecommunications company that is doing amazing work. And he just did the whole thing for me and gave me the output. It gave me the financials, the analysts' target price and ratings, the performance, and the stock price info generally. And on the left, we have the steps. It has the steps that it used to process that whole information. It reasoned based on the fact that I gave it, hey, I want you to analyze Lumen stock for me. I'm thinking about buying it. Give me a comprehensive analysis. It takes the information, it breaks down my information or the query that I gave it into specific tasks. It acts on it. I gave it functions, tools that it will use to perform that task. It observes the results or the output from the websites and the API endpoints, which is the technical term. It reasons through all the information, iterates through it again, and then gives me a final output. Now, I would mention that this is a code-based way of building an AI agent that will do this example for me. I know a colleague of mine that has a startup that is doing excellent work with stock analysis, and they're doing it simply with AI agents. Very small startup of just 2 people, and they're using AI agents to churn this thing out and produce newsletters and analysis every morning. Now, this is a code-based approach that can work for any small company, regardless of what your objective is or your specific use case is. Next slide, please. In this example, we're doing the exact same thing we did in the previous slide, but it's not code-based. It is purely UI-based, the GUI based. You just click through. And this is using Copilot Studio. And this is a very easy to implement way of building an AI agent and using it to accomplish a goal or your business task without you having to know how to write a line of code, right? You use Copilot to pass your instructions. In other words, telling it, this is what I'm trying to achieve. I want to write an AI agent that will do A, B, C, D for me, and it'll ask you a specific set of questions, help you craft your instructions, ask you for whatever knowledge bases that you want to give it, where you want it to go search for you, or if you want it to go search by itself. So you can pass it whatever website or data sets that you have, right? You click through, you test it out, and this is pretty much the process. You build that AI agent, and it goes to work for you straight up. This simply uses Microsoft Copilot Studio to do this. It's very simple, no code required. Just you type a set of words and you follow the instructions. Here, I was just trying to attempt to show us what the result could look like. This is just a basic output, right, in Markdown within a notebook, right? This is the output from the code-based use case that I mentioned 2 slides back. And just giving you the Lumen Technology stock analysis, the current stock information, its financial metrics and company health, analyst recommendations for that stock, recent price performance, and it gives you investment recommendations. Here it's telling you hold, and it gives you a reason for why it's giving you that recommendation. I think this is awesome. But the thing about the beauty of this is that this is just a basic output, right? Using the no code option, you could tell it, hey, I want you to output this as an email. Give me some graphic or some image to make it look fancy, or better still, give me a graph to show how this stock has performed in the past 5 years, and then shoot that as an email to whoever are my subscribers for my newsletter, right? And it's very simple. No code required. It does the job for you, enables you initiate your startup or whatever other business idea or nonprofit project idea that you're trying to put in place or run. Next slide, please. So, Ash, I don't know if you want to take it or if I can continue, but the fact here is this is amazing. This is great. But again, we like to tell customers, let's not get carried away, right? It's not every workflow that you want to throw in an AI agent into. And AI agents are not replacing everybody, at least not yet, right? Not yet.
Yeah,
I'm sure Asha has thoughts on that. Go ahead,
yeah,
Asha.
absolutely. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think my greatest fear has been that Skynet might just be coming in. Uh, and I haven't seen a very good AI movie yet, but in which AI is good. But but yeah, the idea really is that we have this powerful engine, right? So it's just like you can travel if you're traveling from A to B. You can either go in a simple Volkswagen or you can go in a Ferrari. It really depends, what's the need is and what the need of the hour is. So that's what we want to make businesses also understand. Everybody wants to integrate AI. Everybody wants to figure out that how they can put an AI into the system. But a lot of times, very simple things, simple workflow automation, and I'm just embedding AI within those workflows, um, and or agents can solve the problem as well. Omar, so a couple of things that we try to explain this with 2 things. One, we created this small, very focused matrix, which can help you kind of think through that, hey, how do I structure my use case to figure out what's really useful? So either it's simple workflow automation. It's embedding AI within that workflow. Does that make sense? If I have existing workflows and I just want to embed AI and see and make them faster a little bit, or do I need a agentic solution? So first of all, when you have for workflow automation, you have very predefined linear task sequences which require minimal adaptability. So you don't really need a lot of flexibility. Um, and your simple step A, step B, step C, step D, or maybe if and the answer to D is A, then go to B and something on those sorts. So if a workflow or a process can be defined in that manner, then a simple automation can help you. Within that workflow, if you can see and find points where there are certain decisions that are based on different kind of, let's say, inputs. So for example, taking that CPT example again. So the entire workflow is very simple. There's a doctor who puts in his voice notes or written inscriptions or descriptions or whatever. There's a human who goes and looks this up, reads them, identifies the CPT code, enters it information, and it goes to the next step, and then so on and so forth. There's nothing. You don't need agents, you don't need autonomous, you don't need semi-autonomous, as Charles correctly pointed out. All you need is a simple workflow system which can, which is built. But within this system, you can say that, hey, the CPT part is something that maybe we can embed AI in and get it done. So that's the idea, right? So think about that process. Think about, yeah, what your entire flow is. Then you take and think about the decision complexity. So decision complexity is, let's say, if you have complex decision making being done in real time, and we'll help you explain with an example as well after this. So let's say if there's multiple tools, multiple options, and the human has to think through, or human has to involve and say, okay, since this happened, I need to choose this, then you need an AI. Otherwise, again, normal workflows can very, very easily happen. Let's jump to an example, and we'll try and explain through that as well, the same matrix. So this is basically just to show you how, the complexity and the adaptiveness increases as you move from the first workflow automation to embedded automation to agentic automation. All right, so Aid Data, this is a former client of existing and former client of ours, and they basically are a global research lab which are focusing on solving. They collect a lot of data from the web to make it very simple and to see how different kind of policies across the world impact. So aid given at one place, how is that leveraged in that economy, what impact it did and everything. They have loads of research associate and assistants kind of collecting that entire data and from the web, from different sources, which includes multiple language translations and whatnot, and then picking up the data, bringing it into their systems, and typing them down and putting them into a portal from where their actual research guys can then, kind of create reports and right. So they had a 3-step process. So first of all, they were completely manual. RAs kind of going to different websites, different sources, collecting data and bringing that all in and everything. But let's talk about how they evolved over time and what kind of automation makes sense. So the first was where you have defined sources. You have, let's say, HTML pages, you have Excel files, you have fixed websites with defined HTML structures. There's a bot that goes to each website for each project. So they have multiple projects and they're collecting data across all of those different kind of projects. So a bot kind of goes to a website or a document, extracts information, and puts it in the master file. It goes back again, extracts information, puts it back into the master file, and so on and so forth. So it's a purely scripted work. The bot knows where I have to go, which file I have to go to, which field I have to pick within that file, where do I have to put it back. And it's been coded or, it's been programmed in that certain way. It simply goes in, collects data, and brings it back. So no new human effort, human input is needed after the setup. The tasks get automatically done. They're faster, they're cleaner. Obviously, their fail sales set up. So let's say if the file doesn't exist, it knows what to do. And it's all very programmatic and very linear focused, right? So the cons are there's no adaptability. So let's say the website that it visited, the structure kind of changed. It cannot adopt, so it will not be able to pick up from there. Um, it's difficult to maintain as complexity grows. You have more sources coming in, then you have to code those more sources manually. There's, those kind of issues. Your standard workflow rule-based automation issues are there. Now, how did we embed AI into it? So part of the process and into this is once the data comes in, a lot of time it's not cleaned, right? So you have special characters against names, you have special characters inputted within the data itself. You also have to tag certain information based on certain rules. So that those rule is something that you have to determine looking at different, keeping different rules in mind. So it was very hard to program that or code them. So these two parts, we embedded AI, Gen AI specifically, integrating with your OpenAI models, Microsoft models, everybody, where we provided it the input text or description and it returned back a clean, perfectly clean copy. So everything removed, special characters, dirty characters, everything, right? And then the other part was where we gave it some context that, hey, if this value comes in, this is the way you have to tag it. If this project comes in, it from this source, this is the way you have to tag it. Based using some simple prompt engineering and integrating with OpenAI, and the tagging also became automatic. So 80%, almost 85% of the tagging was automatically being done. The rest 15% where the deterministic value was that, hey, my probability of success is low. Humans intervened and they were able to, kind of do it. So all of a sudden that tagging and cleaning up of data, which would take, 2 or 3 days for X amount of data was reduced to 4 hours for that same amount of data coming in. Now, this is simple. The same workflow exists. This is simple us embedding AI within those workflows. So again, no use of agents. The embedding part might be using an agent, but you don't need to develop this entire agentic workflow or agentic system over here. However, if we move this same problem to the next stage where we tell the system that, hey, we're collecting this data for this project. Now go to the internet, over the web, find trustworthy sources, extract information from whatever source that you find, and put it back into the master file. Now, this is autonomous thinking where the agent itself, once it reads that, hey, this is a project that I'm collecting data on, this is, let's say, a Chinese funded project. This is, let's say, I don't know, US based funded project, XYZ. These are the different sites that I've been told to go to. If it's if it's certain type of project, it goes to those sites. The data can be anything. It can be in any form. It can be a PDF. So even in cases where, let's say, if it's a China funded project, there are Chinese document in Mandarin, there are documents in French, there are documents in anything. It translates the document to English. It then understands those documents. It has context coming in, and then it identifies and extracts the required information that was needed. Now, previously, all of this was being done manually, even though we had workflow automation, because the part where you have to pick up a French-based document, translate it into English, and then extract information cannot be done because you cannot predict that, how the information is structured. It had only been, once you have the system where it identifies that, hey, this is not in English, I need to translate it, and the agent does it automatically. So this is where the use case, it really blew off. So, but this was like 20-30% of their work. It was not always 100%. So a lot of things were sorted when you did the workflow automation or when we did the AI embedded workflow automation. This was the next and the final step that is being done. So now what's happening is there's high adaptability, very high flexibility. It can handle complex dynamic scenarios. The cons obviously are there because it requires much more rules to handle potential unpredictability. You don't know what it might read and just put it into the master file. You need a little bit of human intervention here and there, but still there's almost a 50-60% increase in the overall efficiency. Does this make sense? I mean, I'd love to just keep on the same slide, have any questions, ask, and answer them. But that kind of ends our rant and ends the webinar. But and this is what we wanted to leave you guys with. But I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Oh, and Charles is very obviously.
Any questions from the audience? If you'd like to chime in on the chat, I can read those out for you. Give it a couple moments. It was very great. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have anything, but all members, you have access to reach out to Ashar on the platform if you wish. Sorry, I think I heard someone. Did someone come off mute to ask anything?
I was just saying that there were a couple of people who voted that they are partially into AI. So I'd love to hear from them how their experience has been, what are they doing, how they embedded it. And, you have Charles here who can answer from a very good technical Microsoft Copilot perspective as well. So if you have any troubles with running any issues, please feel free to ask. We still have a few minutes.
Yes, Sahad, feel free to come off mute and ask your question.
I just want to say I've been really impressed with Claude. I've been implementing it with our e-commerce, especially with optimizing with CRO and SEO and all of that stuff. And it's been kind of a joy because I was before totally scared and didn't know. And now I'm making updates to SEO in like less time and even learning a huge amount. And once you feed the information to Claude, I think he knows more about my company than I ever thought I did. So I'm kind of impressed with the.
Yes, absolutely. I think
sure about it. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. I thought.
No, the only thing that I'm not sure about right now is what particular areas of my business that I should be looking for and what are some of the things that I can implement and step by step because there's a lot of big members in my team. I mean, I even have somebody that works for me that's now 70 years old and she's like, what are you doing? So how do you go about implementing step by step to make sure that your team, one, adopted and get on it? Because I know that I say, hey, let's use Google because it's free, it's part of, nobody's really using it. So how do you encourage your team to do that? Because I'm so loving it.
Charles, you want to take that? You're on mute, Charles. Sorry
about that. Yeah. So, the recommendation is always to find a low-hanging fruit, right? And it looks like you're doing that already, Sad. You reference your 70-year-old colleague, and my thought would be, what does a day-to-day look like for this person, this individual? When they're logging in the morning, and they come in and they log into their machine in the morning, what do they start out with? What are the tasks that they need to do? Because what AI does so well is automate the repetitive tasks. And all of us have repetitive tasks that can very easily be automated, or at the very least passed on to AI to help us even do it much more efficiently. So I would start with identifying each of those tasks, those low-hanging fruits, right? Because not only would it help us with, passing it on to AI to help us do it more efficiently, it'll help us also begin to understand even further how the AI system works and how it'll help us learn how well, what exactly it is. So in addition to understanding how it works, it'll help us understand, oh, okay, I can use it to do this. It'll help you scale from that point and say, what else can I identify that would help me? This stuff would help me do better. So I'm always about starting small, right? Just look at the list of items or to-dos on a daily, right? Regardless of how basic we might think it is, and think of how to feed it to the AI system to say, how can this help me, achieve this or complete this task better? And then from that point, start identifying more and go from there. Usually that almost always works, instead of looking for the big ticket items and just passing it on to it, right? Or even asking the AI system, I'm doing this task, how can I do this better or more efficiently?
Thank you. I think that makes sense, going on more on a smaller and trying to identify. And I think go ahead. Sorry, I'd love to hear what you said, Ashar.
Yeah, so just have them set up ChatGPT and ask them to start using that. And once they get the addiction of the understanding that, okay, this is like, very fast, they'll start understanding AI and how it functions. So that's a very small step that you can probably ask them to do as well.
Is there, how like in the past, there's like books about idiots for Microsoft or whatever? Is there like a manual where I can say, hey, this is what comparable to, like in the old days, you get these yellow books when I was in school, like, idiots for Microsoft or idiots for PC. Is there anything similar to that to kind of acclimate them step by step on like, okay, how do you create prompts? What are some of the things that you should be asking for? I mean, like I've learned it within the last 6 months. I mean, I'm turning sketches into garments and then taking that garments, putting on AI models, and my entire Spring 26 collection is all AI. So, but, I was pretty quick in kind of learning that. But like for somebody who are slower or not really, what would be the recommendations that you suggest?
I would answer that question by giving an example. We were building a complex system, right? AI system, and folks were trying to, and this was a while ago, a lot has evolved since then, and folks were trying to write prompts that are appropriate and precise enough to enable the AI system do what we needed it to do. And it was a lot of work. But then someone else did something different. They went to the AI, they went to ChatGPT and said, ChatGPT, tell me how to write a prompt that will be able to precisely do A, B, C, D for this system we're building. And guess what? ChatGPT gave it examples of prompts that were much more precise, much better than anything else we were trying to do with our brains and with what we thought was our experience. And eventually we've all caught on. We've learned that why would I have to sit down and try to craft a prompt when ChatGPT can help me do that very easily? My point is, ask ChatGPT or Claude, for that matter, give it a use case. I have an employee or a colleague that is doing A, B, C, D, very basic stuff. They're not very familiar. What are your suggestions on how best, to introduce them into using ChatGPT to complete task A, B, C? And you'd be surprised at what you get, because these models are trained on even the books that you're suggesting, right? If someone has written it, or if someone has written a paper or something regarding what you just mentioned, chances are that ChatGPT or Claude or some of that open source model has been trained on that data, and they have access to vastly more content, helpful content than you do. So if you ask it the question you just asked me right now, it'll give you a bunch of steps that'll be hugely useful, not just for you, but for your colleague. I think that'll be, because we try to complicate it, but I almost always try to go simple, first principles. Just ask it, see what it gives you, and then you can refine based on that with your colleague, obviously. That's my thought.
Great. I mean, I think that sounds really good. Just simplicity as opposed to trying to think. I think that's still in my brain as well. It's like, there's all these possibilities. How do I hone down to like the level that I'm more familiar with and I can share it with my team? So thank you.
Great. Any more questions? We have just a few more minutes left. Did have Nicole chime in the chat. She says this shows how important change management is. Yes, definitely. Alrighty. Well, thank you all for joining us. A special thank you to Ashar and Charles for sharing their deep depths knowledge with us about AI and change management and integration and all that good stuff. Feel free, like I said, if I know some folks had entered the event a little bit late, so you can find the rest of the recording within 24 hours on the member platform under the events tab. And again, thank you all for joining us. We hope you found this session useful. I know I did, so I am willing to bet others did as well. But thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time at our next event.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.